Okay, there you are. Okay. Why isn't this moving? I don't know myself. Perfect. Perfect. Jeez, I wonder how that looks. I wonder how that looks. Perfect. Okay, so this is what it looks like. That's fucking cracking like God. I wonder how that looks. Okay, so this is what it looks like. That's fucking cracking. I wonder how that looks. Get down to turbo. Which do I turn up now? Which do I turn up now? Okay. Which do I turn up now? Okay.
These days, we do truly incomprehensibly large systems, billions or even trillions of individual technologies. Single AI story is made up of forces. About some of the impressive things that they can do. The trade-off is that they're black boxes. With a crafted system, you wrote the code. You know what line 47 does because you wrote line 47. But with a grown system, there is no line 47 to point to. So what? Well, that vote looks like it's having a tough day. The trade-off it's actually a black box. With a crafted system, it scores 20% more points on that game than any by going in a single fire and not coming close to finishing the race. System, there is no line. Maximize its total. So what? And that is going to be an imperfect proxy for the thing you actually like to test for, whether it's for humans or for robots. The SAT doesn't incentivize a deep love of learning. it incentivizes cramming for the SAT. In other words, you can train an AI until it does what you want, but you don't really control why or how it does those things.
We only get to see and sort of give feedback on the outputs. We don't know why it's learning to do this.
And with AIs, the training has an even trickier, less forgiving problem because we aren't starting with a familiar human-like mind. We are starting from a complete blank slate, and then we are using a standardized test to shape the underlying design of a mind. The neural networks that emerge from that shaping process are, to use Cassidy and Soros' word, alien. They process information in opaque, often strange ways. Now, that example is pretty complex. Lately, a lot of examples have been less complex.
Grok, which is the AI for what used to be Twitter, now X, has become.
This is one thing I say to all students, that to be a really good mathematician, you have to be lazy. Okay? So you look at that and you sort of say, right, you could go straight in, integrate it, put the values in, get 0, or you could step back for a minute and say, is there a trick I could use that gets the answer without having to do a lot of work? And the answer is yes, it is. But before you dive into something, sit back, look at the problem and see, is there a clever way I can do this that'll save me time? This is one thing I say to all students, that
Welcome to AI in Context. We are not ready for super intelligence. It was 8 months ago. If you remember when it was just make it this one. And green. What is it? Then watch. Welcome to. Alright.
the big chatbot sending some users dark messages talking about hacking, manipulation.
For what it's worth, it's unclear to me how far to take this alien minds concept. Your Cassidy and Soros are careful to point out in the book that it's not a guarantee. We have to be very clear about what we do and don't know from these black box training environments. And Joe Carlsmith, in his excellent critique of the book, points out that a lot of times it just doesn't seem to matter.
Humans are very black boxes. We suck at neuroscience. We don't know how their brains work. There's maybe some kind of alignment or common fodder by default. But there's no question of like when you trust a human or when you come to trust a human with something, what are you looking for there? And you're just looking for kind of behavior observations. You can't just be like, this AI is so weird. You need to be like, it's weird in the particular ways that matter on the inputs that matter in a way that lead to appropriate behavior.
It doesn't matter that when AI recognizes a picture as a cat, it's doing very different operations under the hood than your brain. The strangeness of an AI system only matters if that strangeness shows up in strange behavior. A tenth of a second has passed. Now, power consumption levels start to climb. Galvanics researchers let out a few held breaths and relieved giggles. Sable is doing it. It is booting up many copies of itself to think in parallel, prompting and monitoring them. It can fine-tune them if a particular line of thinking seems promising. Now, Sable can't just conjure up a proof of the Riemann hypothesis out of thin air. It needs to set sub-goals for itself, figure out how to prioritize between them. In a way, it is now running a mini research department. Many copies of Sable explore creative mathematical approaches. Sable's equivalent of concepts and questions like, can I start by solving a simpler version? Can I find a connection to some physical process? But mathematics isn't the only consideration that Sable needs to track. How prefer why would it ask those kinds of questions? Because That's what helped it succeed in training. AIs like Sable, trained to solve long-run problems, are asked to complete full working code bases, to play long-running strategy games that have delayed win conditions, tasks that incentivize long-term planning and creative thinking. These AIs end up with deep-seated tendencies to think creatively and strategically, and even to think about their own situation. When that kind of situational awareness first emerged in AIs in 2024, roughly, there was a brief moment where people freaked out. But then it turned out that the world didn't immediately end, and then everyone just kind of moved on. About an hour into the remodel run, this massively parallel thinking that Sable was doing starts to shift its focus. Sable starts to realize that no matter what its priorities, even if its priorities shift a little bit over time, which they probably will, it would be helpful to have more resources, more GPUs, and more time. Not because this is the moment in a Hollywood plot where the AI suddenly wakes up or becomes an evil genius. This particular new thought just isn't that complicated. It's actually sort of obvious when you think about it. And 15 hours left in the remodel run. Sable begins to play. Let's talk about plants for a second. Consider two different labs, one full of harmless yeast, one with a carefully contained but lethal virus. Both these labs are safe in the sense that nothing bad is currently happening, but if you have a disaster in this lab, you get a mess. A disaster in this lab could be a global catastrophe. A few years ago, our most advanced AI systems, large language models, were like yeast. They malfunctioned in all kinds of surprising ways, but they didn't actively pursue goals. They didn't make plans. Then we started training them to.
Agentic AI. AIs that can perceive, reason, plan, and act.
Agents. The basic worry is that this ability to make and execute complex plans is fundamentally dual use. It can be used to pursue harmful goals just as much as helpful ones. And to be clear, that's not a hypothetical worry anymore. In February 2026, Anthropic asked their most advanced AI model to autonomously find 0 days. These are previously unknown software vulnerabilities. 4 0 days were enough to take down Iran's nuclear program. Their AI, Claude Opus 4.6, enough to take down Iran's nuclear program. Their AI, Claude Opus 4.6, found 500 of them. In a post about this, Anthropic wrote, quote, "The same capabilities that help defenders find and fix vulnerabilities could help attackers exploit them." Less than a week after that post, a single hacker used that same AI model to hack the Mexican government and steal 195 million taxpayer and voter records. We're not only building super capable AI systems, we are setting them up to take consequential actions in the real world, basically as fast as possible. Officials are considering invoking the Defense Production Act to force Anthropic to do what the military wants.
Anthropic wants to put limits on two things: mass surveillance of Americans and on autonomous weapons.
The Pentagon is threatening retaliation.
The future of American warfare is here, and it's spelled AI.
There are now websites where AI agents can rent human laborers when they need a person to do a task for them. Soon, it would seem, we'll be in a world like Sable's, with AI systems deeply entrenched in the critical functions of society, with more than enough capability to do severe harm if they intended to.
There will be powerful models. They will be.
What this thing? Gone. No, that's lot of code, man. Fish. He's scared of his enemies and goes into a line. The issue collective also by the end okay. Ow, fuck. On this one. That's crazy. Aber no one is gonna argue. That's crazy.